Good morning, I'm Madhav Singh. You're joining us on NewsX. NewsX's sister publication, The Sunday Guardian, has put out an article that has triggered unelected Bangladesh Chief Advisor Mohammad Yunus. This op-ed has been written by the editorial director, Professor Madhav Nalapat, and it delves into how Bangladesh has in effect become a captive of extremists who are using the standing within much of the international community of Yunus to camouflage and whitewash the atrocities that they are doing. Additionally, the article speculates that Yunus is planning to flee into exile, possibly to the UK, where he supposedly has significant investments. Well, joining us, in fact, to comment on this big story is Mohibul Hassan Chaudhry Nofal, former Education Minister of Bangladesh. Thank you very much for joining us today on NewsX, Mohibulji.
Thank you. Thank you for connecting me to your channel today.
What do you make of this reaction by Mohammad Yunus to this Sunday Guardian op-ed, this Sunday Guardian article, which is showing a mirror to his dispensation?
He did not expect this from Sunday Guardian, that a respected media outlet would clinically put it to the world what he's up to, who he's representing, and what he has been doing. So he has, of course, he's been taken aback and he wants to protest. And you've seen that using his social media presence, his pages, which are, of course, all illegal pages, because the position of chief advisor doesn't exist in our constitution. It is something that he has created for himself by fraudulently claiming that there was a Supreme Court hearing which created this post for him, etc. So his shenanigans are out there. His fraud that he has done, the frauds that he has done, the constitutional fraud in the name of this so-called monsoon revolution is out there in the public. So obviously he's concerned. He does not have any legality, no constitutional validity, and now that across the world, people see what he's up to, what he is, in fact, in the disguise of a Nobel laureate. He's very concerned, naturally.
Yes. Do you believe, interestingly, that because the truth has been exposed, that has rattled Dr. Yunus and his dispensation? Interestingly, they haven't rebutted, denied, or replied to these charges, but merely, of course, showed their angst by posting about this on X.
Absolutely. I mean, the man runs fraudulent activity of international scale. I'll give you a little example. When I was in the education ministry, I headed the UNESCO commission in Bangladesh as being the ex officio chairman. Being the education minister. He ran an article and a news, in fact, claiming that UNESCO in Azerbaijan gave him an UNESCO award. Now, we wrote to UNESCO and asked whether he was given an award. And UNESCO wrote back to us and said that in an event where he was invited, he was given a souvenir, which he then claimed that he was given a UNESCO award. The man loves to adorn himself with different foreign awards. And in fact, in the budget that he has declared just day before yesterday, he has declared 9 kinds of international awards tax-free in order to legalize his illegal earnings, which he claims that he earned through awards. And he has even included Nobel Prize as a tax-free income source. Now, I don't know how many people get Nobel Prize from Bangladesh on a yearly basis. I have no idea. Of course, he wants to legalize his earnings, claiming that all these awards were given as part of him being a Nobel laureate. And he's just paving the path for his earnings to be legalized. As soon as he came to power, he has removed all the tax evasion charges. In fact, there was a 600 crore tax claim on the entities that he controlled, and he owned around 600 crore tax was due to be paid to the government treasury, and he exempted all his entities from taxation. So it's not just ideological criminality that that man actually partakes in. It is also tax evasion type financial crimes that he's involved in. So the whole world now can see what he's up to. He has awarded himself a manpower license, awarded himself a private university license, awarded himself all these parts.
Yes. Mohibur Hassan, also, what do you make of the contents of this article? This op-ed, obviously, that has rattled the dispensation. Do you agree with all that has been said? The fact that, these extremists are using Dr. Yunus's acceptability, image abroad, to shield what is actually happening internally in Bangladesh? Do you also believe possibly he may be fleeing into exile very, very soon? Do you agree with all that has been written in this article? And do you believe it is the truth?
I'm not sure to what extent he's ready to go on. He's ready to leave the country and take asylum abroad. I'm not sure about that. But what I am 100% sure, and what the article is absolutely spot on, is that his brand, or at least the global identity that he has built over the years through lots of fraudulent activities, is being used by the deep state of certain countries, including Pakistan and its intelligence agencies, to establish the anti-state elements in Bangladesh and re-establish their terror infrastructure. And it is absolutely spot on that. So they needed a face. So we have seen in the West how left liberals had been promoting the agenda of ultra-religious Islamist right in the name of Islamophobia, and using it as an excuse to validate, legalize all the criminal activities of these groups. The same has happened in Bangladesh. The deep state elements of Pakistan and different countries used Yunus's name to re-establish the terror network that they built painstakingly for 21 years in Bangladesh following our independence. They wanted to rebuild it. After our Honorable Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina took the charge, she dismantled the entire terror infrastructure, which Yunus, his colleagues, as well as the backers did not like. They wanted Bangladesh to be a theater of war and trouble in the region, as they did in Peshawar and other places in Pakistan, as we have seen.
Yes.
So it is absolutely spot on. So of course, him being a proxy of certain elements, including the extremists, is out there. In fact, the backers, the crazy radicals whom he is promoting back in Bangladesh, the quote unquote the anti-discrimination movement, his newly formed party NCP, they are now saying the word Islamophobia in Bangladesh, claiming that they are now victim of Islamophobia, or the extremists are victims of Islamophobia. Now, in a country of 90%,
we are of course seeing also how the Sunday Guard, as you were saying, a lot of the contents of this article are absolutely bang on. And obviously that is what has rattled Muhammad Yunus and his dispensation, that someone is showing them the mirror. Do you believe, like how the Sunday Guardian has done in this piece, other world media also now must report the facts? They owe it to their conscience to speak up, and speak up now. Also, perhaps world leaders need to begin speaking up on this matter. Silence will not work, otherwise they are complicit as well.
Absolutely. You see, many of the Western outlets were totally silent on the issue of repression, torture, and killing of religious minorities, of progressive liberals, of Awami League activists across the country before the 5th of August and after the 5th of August. Hundreds of policemen are missing still. They are not attending work, and many of them are feared to be dead. They were totally silent. And Yunus spent a lot of money through his PR agencies in the Western world to not even raise finger on these particular issues. And of course, thanks to outlets like Sunday Guardian, all these scams and all the repressions that he had been doing, running in the country, are now being exposed. So I think the global media, I think those who claim to represent progressive secular liberals in the Muslim world should now speak up. But what have we seen? We have been seeing a trend in some of these outlets where they use the term Islamophobia to mask these atrocities, to silence the discussion on repression on religious, ethnic, and political minorities and dissidents. So they have their position will also have to change. They have to wake up to the reality. We've seen it in the UK, how extremists are running their operations within the country, and yet certain sections of the country, they continuously try to defend them, and now how they're being affected. And if they don't wake up now, if they don't read this article, if they don't look at the contents which are routinely being published in many different regional outlets here in this part of the world, they will also have to suffer the consequence that we are going through in Bangladesh.
Okay, let me in fact ask you my final question then, Mohibulji. What do you see the near future looking like for Bangladesh? Where do you see this situation headed in the short term for your country?
Average Bangladeshi people, by and large, are secular, are peace-loving, are liberal Muslims, most of them. But within us, we do have a significant minority who subscribe to the extremist version of our religion. Since 1971, this section was there. We could not get rid of them. Of course, we had to pardon these elements. After 1975, they were institutionally re-established. Around 25% of the country in the Pakistan era voted in favor of Pakistan. And that 25% had been given state assistance post-1975 after our father of the nation was killed. So that powerful, significant minority has a lot of representation and participation in the governmental structure. Despite that, we were able to regulate, contain terrorism, violence, and terror infrastructure within the country.
Right.
We did that successfully, and in the short run, we feel that the majority of the people, we do know that they will rise up like they did in 1971, like they did through different elections, which is why Mr. Yunus is scared of elections. If he is truly democratic, he should call in an election, let Awami League participate and all the political parties participate, and see what the people's verdict will be.
All right, Mohibul Hassan Chaudhry Naufil, thank you very much for joining us with your perspective on this big story. Shifting our focus now to more